Hi, my name is Ryan Kennedy, and I'm a chef for Brigade, and today we're going to talk about steaming rice. So what I have in front of me here is just some brown rice. This brown rice right here is parboiled. I'm just trying to make the case from the front that parboiled is kind of the way to go. When working in a school kitchen, I think it's a lot easier to cook parboiled brown rice than it is to cook regular brown rice. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's just a timing situation. Like, I've worked in a lot of different places cooking rice, and just honestly, like, many states, many school kitchens, and different places it's taken different amounts of time. A lot of times you can get a lot of variability just looking at the grain for the brown rice, but for parboiled rice, it's a pretty consistent product. Also, brown rice in general versus parboiled, regular brown rice is like pretty temperamental. It goes a lot of times from completely crunchy to, exploded, popped, starch has been entirely released, and it's pretty frustrating. It's hard to like really nail it, and even if you do nail it, when it comes time to holding that rice, a lot of times it's going to degrade over that time and just continue cooking. For parboiled rice, it's really straightforward. Our procedure is like, whether we're cooking in the oven or we're cooking in the steamer, we're adding a very specific amount of water to the brown rice, and we're giving it about 45 to 50 minutes of cook with a rotation in between. No stirring, no messing with it, nothing like that. And when it comes out, we usually get very fluffy, nice cooked rice that's both, when you stir it, it can kind of like tumbles over each other and you can see individual grains from the next, and it doesn't get overly starchy or overly sticky. I think that's kind of like the perfect rice because it's really nice to eat. It's not really much of a chore to eat, and the beauty of parboiled rice is that even when you nail that cook, once you bring it to the service line or you put it into the warmer for a little bit of time, it also has a little bit of sturdiness to it that it's not going to overcook in that time. All right, so now that we're ready to like cook rice, we generally use two different types of methods. One of them is cooking in the steamer. The other one is cooking in the oven, or the oven method. And of course, not all kitchens have steamers, but for the most part, most of them have ovens. Our process is identical for either one. It's just one gets wrapped and one doesn't get wrapped. So we're just going to go over that process a little bit. So first thing we do, we get a 4-inch hotel pan. We spray that pan with any kind of pan spray, again, just like a neutral, doesn't have to be olive oil or anything like that. But just try to create a slick surface so that that water that's on the bottom is going to evaporate once all of it's been absorbed, and we want to make sure that nothing kind of like burns or sticks to the bottom. So from there, we're going into the rice. This rice hasn't been rinsed, nothing's happened to it. It's just parboiled rice, 3 quarts. We have 3 quarts of rice, and then I do just a smidge over 3 quarts of water. This water's cool, slightly cooler than room temperature. I think that's a good place to start because it makes it so that your timing can be consistent. Okay, so you might use a different ratio in your school. You might be very comfortable with a different ratio based on your prior experience. That's all fine and good. I was really surprised that 3 quarts of water, or just over 3 quarts of water, would cook 3 quarts of rice, because my whole life prior to that, I'd always been doing like a 2-to-1 ratio, or even in some cases, 2.5, 3-to-1. But this is going to work in our two methods for one reason. It's based on evaporation. We're going to try to make sure that we're not losing any water vapor to the outside air to dry heat. So this pan right here that's been sprayed, 3 quarts of dried rice, parboiled to slightly over 3 quarts of water. If it goes into the steamer and I turn that steamer on and the steamer's preheated, there is no evaporation because the entire air inside that steaming chamber is entirely, it's 100% humidity. So it's really got nowhere, there's nowhere for water to evaporate. So this water is going to just perfectly eventually hydrate and cook the rice that's in here, and it's just enough of a buffer to keep anything from drying out. The oven method is the same process that we have here, but the only difference is we take a parchment paper and aluminum foil, and we do a wrap. And the wrap is just important because, one, we're just trying to create a seal. We're trying to create an airtight seal, or enough of a seal that we're not going to have any of the vapor that's coming off, any of that steam that's coming off the water once it heats up to above 212 degrees. We don't want that escaping outside of this pan. So I think it helps to have slightly heavy-duty foil, and then it's just be kind of specific about crimping all of the edges and making them as tight as possible. When we open this after 50 minutes of being in the oven at 350 degrees, when we pull this off, we want to kind of back up, and we want this massive sort of cloud of steam. That lets us know that we didn't have a lot of evaporation during the process, and that all of the water that is in here eventually got absorbed into the rice that's in here. All right, both of our rices are complete. So this one just came out of the steamer. It was very simple, 1 part water to 1 part rice. This one came out of the oven, exactly same ratio, 1 part water to 1 part rice. We just wrapped this one with parchment paper and with foil. In both cases, we're talking about 45 to 50 minutes. I think the texture of the rice is really beautiful. The grains are still fully intact. It's not too sticky, it's not clumped up, it's certainly not crunchy, and it's also not exploded or blown out. So this rice is kind of like perfect right now to bring straight to the line and then serve it with another preparation, whether it be like a curry or a teriyaki chicken or an orange chicken or a stir fry or something like that. Or we could take it and cool it, and then the following day, have it in a different preparation, maybe a grain salad, or we could do it in like a, vegetable fried rice or something like that. Either way, I think having a plan to like perfectly nail rice is really important because rice is something that gets served in schools all the time, and getting a tried and true sort of method down will really help, and sometimes brown rice can be difficult and challenging and a little bit daunting. So regardless of your setup, whether you have a steamer or an oven, I think both of these different styles are really appropriate, and hopefully they'll help you get perfectly cooked brown rice in the future.